Fathers are absolutely essential to a functioning society. They are the core building block. They are the cornerstone. They are the primary component to a functional society. The only problem is right now, we are entering into the great age of a fatherless society. And what happens is the inevitable. A fatherless society eventually becomes a functionless society. And many people can't figure out what's the core issue, but this is it. That if you remove the father, or if the father removes himself, you begin to lose stability. You begin to lose strength. You begin to lose a presence that is irreplaceable, because see, the role of the father is irreplaceable by any other thing on earth. It is unique and it is divine. And so when we move into the era of a fatherless society, we find ourselves in a functionless society. This is where crime becomes rampant. This is where corruption explodes. This is where morality degenerates. This is where confusion reigns. This is where chaos takes control. Why? Because the strong men are missing. They've backed down. They've self-censored, silenced who they are. And the whole world has a full court press against the men. To push them in a corner, to push them down, to be silent, to be nothing, to be no one, to be mocked, to be belittled. There is something that God has ordained. It's a role that only men can play, that no one else can replace. Doesn't matter how much money you throw at it. Doesn't matter how many institutions you create. Doesn't matter how many social workers you put on the streets. You need fathers to have a functional society. It's irreplaceable. Paul knew this, and he even said to the church, he says, look, you have many teachers, but few fathers. Have you ever noticed that everyone will tell you what to do? Everyone will write a book. Everyone will start an Instagram account. Everyone will tell you where to go, where to shop, what to buy. They'll tell you. You got teachers. We call them influencers now, but that's all they are. We got talkers. But see, a father won't tell you what to do. He'll show you what to do. A father won't just talk at you. A father will raise you and walk beside you. And Paul's saying, even to the church, you've got plenty of people who will talk, but you have very few people who will walk. Many teachers, but you need fathers in the house of the Lord. Men that will walk through these difficult moments with you. It is irreplaceable. And maybe you're here and you say, well, I've never had a father. Maybe he was absent. Maybe you lost your father. And in that, Jesus can even understand what you're going through. Because we find that at the very beginning of Jesus' ministry, Joseph isn't there. Most likely, Jesus lost Joseph at a young age, certainly before the age of 30. So he knows what it is, even to have the loss of an earthly father. Maybe you don't feel that way. Maybe you had a great father. Maybe it's even difficult for you to step into his shoes. And for that, that's a rare miracle. And it shouldn't be. It should be commonplace, but it's rare. And I would challenge you, go thank your dad for the miracle that he is as he walked beside you. But if you're here and you say, well, I didn't have that and I didn't experience that, God will step into those shoes, and God is more than enough for that role. The reality is we cannot change the past, cannot change your upbringing, but we can prepare for the future. And I am here to prophetically speak into the future of every father and to-be father here, who they are, who God made them to be, who they're called to be. Because see, God is a good father, and he's looking to produce good fathers. God is wanting to put who he is as a father into the men of this house, that you might go and model who he is to your children, that they might get a glimpse. Yes, it's a shadow, but they might get a glimpse of who God is through your action. Men, you're called to be fathers like God was a father to you. It is the primary responsibility of the father to protect the innocence that God has entrusted to him. Rise and take your child far from here. Why? Because there's a spirit, there's a Herod that is rising up, that is seeking to destroy him. It didn't just say kill him, it said destroy him. That's the goal of the enemy. His goal is the destruction of your children. He wants to seek and destroy your children's morality. He wants to seek and destroy your children's innocence. Seek and destroy your children physically, emotionally, spiritually. You have to protect their spirit. You have to protect who they are. I even feel led to say this. Just because someone else is in a position of authority doesn't make them right. You are their father, your dad. Protect their spirit. Protect who they are. God has given you the divine responsibility, hear me, to protect them from destruction. Because you can be alive and be destroyed. To protect their heart, to protect their love, to protect their joy. God has given you this job and no one else. Hear me, no one else. Just this week, the White House released a statement speaking about children in our nation, and they said this phrase, they are all our children. No, they are my children. They are your children. They are not the government's children. You are the parent with the divine responsibility from God. You are the one that God has entrusted them to, not Herod, not Pharaoh, not anybody else. You, and you alone. Amen? And you don't ever have to be ashamed of that or wishy-washy on that. God gave them to you. You were there at the conception. You were there at the delivery. You were there at the maturity. I was there when my child took their first step. I was there when they said their first word. I was there when they took their first fall. I was there. We have sacrificed to raise our children. The government has done nothing to deserve the right and honor to raise their children. It is you. And you will stand before God, and you will have to answer in judgment one day on how you raise those God entrusted to you. You will stand before the throne, and behind you will be your children and your grandchildren, your legacy. And God will look to you, fathers, on how you raise your children. The president will not stand there next to you. The governor will not be there. The city councilor, the school board, the doctor, they will not stand there. You will stand there, and you will answer. And I pray you hear the phrase, well done, my good and faithful servant. You were faithful with the little. Now I give you much. I pray that fathers begin to rise up and take their rightful place in who they are as defenders, as guardians, as watchmen in the lives of their children. For the presence of a godly father is God's greatest defense against any deadly enemy. Whatever the enemy wants to throw at your children, and he will throw temptations, he will throw substances, he will throw relationships, he will throw difficulties, obstacles, he will throw pain at them, he will throw all of life at them. But hear me, a godly father is the antidote to every poisonous dart from the enemy. It is God's great defense for the protection of the children. It's who you are and who you're called to be. Do not lapse into inaction. God will let you see things. God will let you hear things as a warning for you to be the protector. I pray that men in this nation begin to rise up. I pray they find their guts. I pray they find their boldness and their courage. I pray they are no longer afraid of being perceived as weird or being perceived as wrong, but that they begin to rise up and they let everyone else know it all runs through Dad. We gotta rise up. And we got to follow the voice of wisdom that God will give you. Listen, number one, listen to the voice of God, because he will begin to lead you on how to protect your home. Number two, take action and set boundaries. Take action, take quick, complete, total, wild action if you have to, and set boundaries. Fathers, you have to get comfortable with a little bit of good conflict. You have to get comfortable with saying what is true no matter what happens. You have to get comfortable with making difficult decisions for your family, because only you can do it. If you don't know how to set boundaries, I'm gonna give you 3 simple steps within these 3 larger points. Step 1, how to set boundaries. You need to hear me, fathers, withdraw from life-threatening situations. I would put devices in life-threatening situations. Your kids could get so addicted at a young age that they have no chance, even by the time they're teenagers. You have to be careful what content is on that phone, what apps are on that phone. You need to have all the passwords. You need to know what they're doing. You say, I'm not gonna spy on my children. Why not? Watch what they're watching. Watch what they're into, watch who they're talking to, watch what they're viewing, but be very, very careful. Please hear me. I know you would not allow some perv stranger to come and take the guest bedroom next to your daughter in your house. Then don't let her have the iPad on her side table. The step 3 in taking action, setting boundaries is simply this: seek godly counsel. You need someone that's a couple steps ahead of you. And you need someone whose marriage you want to emulate. Of course, nobody's perfect, but you're saying, you know what, if my marriage could sort of look like that, that would be good. You need to find some people that you want your family to sort of look like. If my family could look like that, if my son could look like that, can I propose to you that you find those people, seek them out, and ask them to go to lunch with you? And while you're there, say, how did you do it? You've been married for 15 years, how did you do it? You've been married 25 years, how did you do it? You've been married 40 years. Your children they're teenagers, but they still love God. They're grown men, but they love God. How did you do it? What's essential? Begin to seek godly counsel. Begin to seek it out. Don't just try and figure it out. Seek it out. Invite seasoned Christians into your conversations. Hear me, because if you get experienced counsel, your kids don't have to be an experiment. You can go to some parents and say, hey, what worked? What worked in the areas of discipline? What worked in the areas of their mind? What worked in the areas of transition in their lives? And when you get that, it will help you build godly boundaries. But I want to give you one more overall point on how to be a godly protector. The first was to listen to the voice of God. The second was to take action, set boundaries. But the third is that you invest. And you invest your very best into your children. Look at what it says in the Bible about Jesus. It says, then he went down to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them. And Jesus grew in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and men. It didn't happen without obedience to his parents and investment from his parents. Fathers, give your best to your children, not the rest. Not the rest, not the leftovers, not the I'm too tired, not the I worked all day, not the you don't know what I got on my plate, not the I'm frustrated. Give them your very best. The best of your time, the best of your energy, the best of your effort, the best of your mind, because they will be the most important investment you ever make. And please hear me, you will have to sacrifice greatly to invest in their lives. In other words, they're not like a penny stock where you can throw $10 on it and hope it's good. Your kids are gonna take consistent, sacrificial investment. The parenting portfolio, that will be the only portfolio in your life that matters at the end. It doesn't matter how much wealth you have, that's true wealth. So invest your best. Invest your best. They're worth your investment. Invest into their spirit, invest into their mind, and invest into their memories. Invest into their spirit because it's eternal. Invest into their mind because it's essential. And invest into their memories because it's foundational. Your identity, most of your identity is set upon your memories. Be intentional in those areas of your children's life. You are called by God to be the divine protectors of the innocence. You're gonna need wisdom, you're gonna need strength, you're gonna need energy, but God's got enough to give it to you.